All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a fascinating and frankly kind of terrifying phenomenon in the tech world right now. Based on a heavily detailed 2026 operational field report by AOPS Vista, we're going to demystify why so many AI startups are getting slammed with skyrocketing, totally uncontrollable infrastructure bills way before they even reach product market fit. Seriously, if you're building an AI today, you absolutely need to hear this.
So, picture the scene. It's a Friday night, end of the month. A startup founder is sitting alone in the dark, staring at a single number on their billing dashboard that just literally does not make any sense. I mean, 2 months ago, their AI product was incredibly lean and efficient, the team was moving fast, the demos were absolutely flawless, and their costs, pretty much microscopic. But then, a customer shared a workflow internally. Real, sustained traffic actually hit the product. And it happened before the team had any real operational control setup. Which leads us to the central mystery of our explainer today. Why did the bill just double? How on earth does a dirt-cheap MVP inference API suddenly hemorrhage cash the exact second usage jumps?
Section 1. The real cost amplifier. Expectation versus production reality.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We need to diagnose the underlying disease here, which is, at its core, premature complexity in AI operations. Now, logically, we all kind of assume that if usage grows, costs are going to grow roughly in proportion, right? But the harsh, compounding reality is very different. In production, as usage grows, uncertainty grows. And to combat all that uncertainty, teams start building defensive architecture. It is actually that defensive architecture that compounds your spend way, way faster than your revenue. The AI model itself isn't even the most expensive part anymore. It's the whole surrounding operational system. Section 2. Where the money goes. The system breakdown.
Now, what's really interesting here is that when founders ask why the bill spiked, the answer is rarely just one rogue line item. The genuinely expensive part is the interaction between the layers. It's like a classic failure cascade. Step 1, you get a larger context window that causes a massive latency spike during a peak hour. Step 2, because of that latency, engineers panic a bit and quickly loosen the retries and model fallback policies, which completely jumps the request fan out. And then, step 3, because of all those retries, your observability ingestion, telemetry, and logs just inflate dramatically, especially if someone accidentally left full payload mode on for debugging. So your inference and telemetry bills just spiked in the same exact week. Not because you suddenly got massive new user growth, but entirely because of messy system interactions.
To really put this into perspective, just think about the staggering jump we typically see in the cost growth curve. We start with a super lean MVP, maybe costing around $800. Pretty great. But as the team reacts to early incidents with a big reliability push, boom, costs jump to $9,000. And by the time they hit that scale with complexity phase, they are bleeding over $22,000 a month. Complexity is basically compounding cost exponentially faster than traffic alone ever could.
Section 3. The premature scaling trap. Struggling before PMF.
We are now in that chaotic middle phase that teams almost never post about online. The product truth is still being validated, but the architecture starts behaving like some bloated enterprise platform. AOPS Vista states this so neutrally but so firmly. Most startups adopt Kubernetes too early. Look, Kubernetes is incredibly powerful. It's great when you have sustained workload diversity and super clear governance requirements. But it is incredibly expensive theater when your traffic is still wildly inconsistent and your team's bandwidth is spread incredibly thin.
The report hits us with another pretty harsh reality check. Observability is becoming a hidden startup tax. Now, obviously, observability is absolutely essential. But if you're saving full payload logs, full traces, and super high cardinality attributes forever, well, your tooling bill is going to quickly rival your actual AI inference costs. What startups really need is observability discipline, not observability maximalism.
So what does this actually look like in the wild? Well, here are the specific real-world production issues that are just destroying latency budgets and engineering sleep schedules as we speak. First, token explosions from prompt drift after endless product iterations. Then you have retrieval storms. These happen when you globally raise your top K limits without any tenant controls in place. You've got retry cascades that literally double your request volume the second a provider gets unstable. And of course, re-embedding pipelines that just blindly process unchanged data every single cycle. These are the quiet killers of your financial margin.
Section 4. The maturity roadmap. Common engineering.
Okay, let's shift gears and see how we actually fix this. To escape all that tension of cost spiking, we need a methodical rhythm of sustainable scaling across time. It needs to be a highly structured, totally actionable roadmap. The golden rule you have to remember here is this:
Complexity should only be added when it's strictly justified by the phase you are actually in. Let's break down the first two phases, because getting this right is absolutely crucial to preventing runway burn. In the MVP phase, your infra profile should literally just be a simple runtime with minimal dependencies. Keep it light. Your observability profile should just track latency, errors, and token basics. The danger here is that if you delay instrumentation entirely, your main risk becomes blind cost growth. Moving into the early traction phase, this is where you add cache and queue infrastructure, and you start tracing spans across your inference and retrieval. The risk here shifts a bit. Now you have to watch out for policy drift under the pressure of shipping fast features.
Then, things get a bit heavier. In the reliability phase, your infrastructure moves toward failure isolation, and your observability means having formal SLOs tied directly to incident response. But the biggest risk here? Overcorrecting by slopping on unnecessary, clunky platform layers. Finally, once you genuinely reach the scale phase, that's when you introduce platform standardization and unified telemetry. But even then, the massive risk is that your capacity spend ends up completely outpacing actual customer value.
So the crucial point here, the real takeaway from all this data, is that the objective is absolutely not to build the most complex AI startup architecture right out of the gate. The objective is to keep learning faster than you are burning. It really is that simple. Calm, measured engineering is what actually dictates your survival. Measure what matters, start as lean as possible, and only add complexity when the business truly genuinely requires it.
I'm going to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to chew on regarding your own infrastructure strategy. Is operational drag deciding your roadmap before your customers do? If you and your team are spending your sprints fighting compounded infrastructure complexity instead of actually building product value, well, it might be time to rethink your operations. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning out there.